Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
Through the night, deep in the heart of Texas, the trailer park is nice and dark. Deep in the heart of Texas, Jack drinks his brew and he spits his chew. Deep in the heart of Texas, the TV blares but no one cares. Deep in the heart of Texas, here we go.
Hey there, everybody! Welcome back to King of the Hill.
Blah.
I said it backwards.
Yeah, you did.
That's okay. We're gonna keep that.
We'll keep that. Okay.
Yeah, that's our blooper. It's a gift to all of you.
There you go. King of the Hill. Blah. Podcast rewatch.
It is a podcast rewatch. I am Rusty. He is Mike. Yeah. So Rusty, we are in season 3. We're all the way to episode 11.
Yeah,
it's
all
crazy.
The way to episode 11. Is that halfway?
I think it's about halfway. I think there's 22, 24 episodes, something like that.
Let me look real fast.
But
there's 25 episodes,
25.
so we're not quite
so
halfway.
we're almost there.
We're almost there.
We have to get to 12 and a half.
Yeah.
So Mason, will you let us know when we're at 12 and a half? Maybe do a horn or something.
That's like when we take our break next
Okay,
week.
it's the break. We go,
Yeah,
hey,
when we take our break next week.
happy halfway through the episode.
Yeah, there you go.
So this is To Spank with Love.
Yeah, it's the episode title is a spoof on a movie from the 60s called To Sir with Love, which is about students coming to terms with a different type of teacher, which I've never seen. Yeah, Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
Shout out Archie for the Archie. Did I say Archie? I meant Artie. Sorry.
Yeah.
Shout out to Artie for the information.
Shout out to Archie also.
Thank you for
his comics were wonderful.
The TV show too. I was watching that.
Archie,
the old 60s,
the cartoon.
Yeah,
Jughead.
Pretty funny.
Jughead's an idiot. All right, so we start off here. This is not something we see very often. This is the backyard. Peggy is gardening with Bobby and Joseph.
This is the only time,
really,
in the entire series, according to Artie. So if it's law, Artie said it's law, but they say this is the only time that there's ever a garden. Never appears again. Yeah, never.
Well,
appears.
what's weird to me is like the fact that number one, it's those three gardening: Joseph, Bobby, and Peggy, and then Hank is on the riding mower. And at the end of this, you see him on the riding mower again. And all I can think of is like he's got to be just throwing grass all over him the whole time,
just coating him in grass, and the noise and stuff like.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
The smell from the fumes of the gas burning, because they kind of it's the 90s, so they're running kind of rough. They're not running as lean as they run now.
I can't imagine that Hank's mower ever ran rough. Though.
Not ran rough, but the emissions.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the 90s, so it's probably just pouring out.
He's probably got it running on propane.
Probably
at that point. Yeah, clean burning.
They actually run. I think it's UPS. They run all of their vehicles off of.
Do they really natural gas?
Yep. Yeah,
that's not the same as propane, though, right? Natural gas and propane are two.
Well, they're both they are both a natural
gaseous
fluid. What natural gas they use, I don't know, but all gases that are considered natural gases, the the methane and the propane, the acetylene, and all that those are considered natural.
I've never. I guess the argument about the cows farting, with the methane.
Yeah.
That's always rubbed me the wrong way. Because cows were here for a long time.
Yeah, they were, but they weren't.
But I guess we didn't have as many.
Well,
and they weren't
Well,
concentrated.
yeah, I think that's what it is.
They were just wild
is the
cows.
amount that are concentrated. They're
Is
not.
there such a thing as
they're
a
not
wild
spread
cow?
out. Yeah, there is such things as a cow. Well, they used to be wild cows.
That's what I'm
guess.
saying.
I
Like,
don't know.
I mean, have you ever
it's-
seen a wild cow?
I've never seen a wild. You're
just like, oh,
well,
look,
not
a
in
wild
Texas. You'll never see a wild cow because
Yeah.
every inch of Texas is owned by somebody.
Sure.
If you go to BLM lands out west,
Yeah.
where it's all millions of acres of public land.
Tons and tons of free
wild
cows.
I know you might catch a free range cow or see one out there, maybe, but I imagine somebody even owns them because ranchers rent the property from the federal government they lease it for grazing.
It just sounds so weird. Free range cow.
Yeah, so there's actually 4 natural gases, and it's methane, ethane, butane, and propane. Yeah.
Nobody wants that butane.
No.
All right, so
Well, unless you want to light a cigarette, then
True.
you might want butane.
they are gardening with Joseph and Bobby Bobby, of course, is wearing the big floppy hat.
Yep.
And Bobby says, "Oh, it looks like I'm getting some nice
color. And then
Yeah.
you see Hank.
Hank's just like, oh. And Joseph says, "Look out, Mrs. Hill, the snake." And then Peggy, being Peggy, just picks up her arm, and the snake is just coiled around the snake. She's just
got
like,
it by the head. Yeah.
it's a harmless bull snake. I'd say she is about 9 months
she flips
old.
it over, and then
She just chunks it. She just chunks it across the
hurls
yard.
it.
Yeah.
And then she like walks off.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite parts here, where Joseph looks over at Bobby and he goes, "Your mom's as cool as most people's dads."
and
then Bobby
he's like, it's like that book they took out of the school library. I've got 2 dads. Hank's like, no, you don't. That's it. We
No,
go
you
straight to
don't.
credits. Credits, no bell, no yell. And then we go straight into the Hill house at night again with Peggy and Hank in bed. The phone rings. It's morning. She gets up almost. She's just like, whoop, she's up
instantly.
This is
awake.
Hill, and the guy at the school who we're not able to figure out what this character's name is, but he's the guy that always calls her about a sub job.
Yeah, is that Principal Moss that's calling her? Maybe
no, because he's in it later. He
probably
says,
an unknown character. It's probably just a voice.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He says, Tom Landry Middle School needs you, Peggy. This job's for at least a week, maybe 2. Can you sub for Mrs. Gonzalez? She says, Gonzalez? Well, that's Spanish, isn't it? Yes, it is. Your best subject. He says, you'll be fine, just fine. She goes, there's something you're not telling me. He goes, dang it, Peggy, I could lose my job. Like it's such a big friggin' deal here. She goes, digame. Now, I don't know what she's trying to say with digame.
She's trying to say dihame.
Is she?
Yeah.
Dihame? What does that mean?
Off the top of my head, I have no
Tell me?
idea.
It's got to be like tell me or
It means
spill
tell
it
me.
or something, right?
Yeah, it means tell me.
But she says digame.
Yeah. No, it means tell me, yeah.
He says, I just can't. But on a completely unrelated subject, hasn't it been a while since your last surprise in-class evaluation? She goes, why, yes, it has. But tell me. Oh. So I used to teach, and we had these evaluations. And they went a little something like this, where you knew when you were getting the evaluation. To me, that is not an evaluation.
No, it's not an evaluation.
They
You
should
could
just walk
practice
in.
and study for it. Yeah.
They should just walk in. But instead, they give you prep time. And that's because of, like, teacher unions and things like that.
Well, not only that, they don't want you to fail because their failure is a failure on the school, too, which means less money.
It's true, unless they don't like you, then they do want you to fail.
Then they do want you to fail. Yeah, for sure.
Do private schools have evaluations? Is it only a public school thing?
No, all schools should have evaluations. Do they? I doubt it.
Public schools have to, though, right?
Public schools do have to. There are
They have a
certain things they have
legal
to do.
process.
There's a certain form they use. There's a certain process. That process changes every once in a while. It's called this thing or that thing or whatever. My wife had to do tons and tons of these things.
Yeah.
I didn't have as many because I was never a testable subject. So I taught rockets and robots and art and business and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that was ever on a tax test or a STAR test. Or
Nothing
anything like
important.
that. No, nothing important. Definitely.
Well, probably stuff more important than anything you were learning for the tax test.
You could tell by all the students that were in my class, it was nothing important.
Yeah, we don't support state mandated tests
No,
here at the King of the Hill
state
podcast.
testing sucks.
I wiped my ass with the STAR test. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
STAR test is okay. All right. Quick soapbox. Politicians deciding educational law should not be a thing. That's my whole thing.
No, they shouldn't.
So
Especially people that haven't raised kids in like 45, 50 years.
Well, it's not even that. It all goes back to the companies that prepare the STAR test. So Pearson is the company that prepares
and then the
STAR
school,
test.
and then it even goes deeper than that. It goes all into the books and everything too.
Yeah, politicians get a kickback on who they use. And
how
all
books
this
in
stuff.
other states, they don't get to make books for
Absolutely.
their own state because the two largest states that make, like Texas and California, have the highest population. Which a lot of people don't know that your students' books in Rhode Island are dictated by what the people in Texas want for their books because of how big and like major books like the math and the history.
Yeah, because Pearson or one of those places, McGraw-Hill, those guys, they make
monopolize the book
market.
market.
and think about it, you can't make a different science book for every state. You would think you would want it this way or that way, and so the larger the population, they get to decide.
Yeah.
So we are back at Tom Landry Middle School in the hall outside the class. Peggy walks up. She meets Mrs. Ayers, who is there to evaluate her. Peggy acts surprised. Oh, I had no idea. My goodness, an evaluation. Well, imagine. They both go into class, and I think one of the funniest things that happens in this entire thing until the end is Clark and Dooley both like slide sideways into the door. Like they just here they come. They just slide in. Clark says, "A substitute." Dooley says, "Attack." And so Connie comes walking in. She says, "Hi, Mrs. Hill." Peggy responds to her, trying to impress the evaluator by saying, "Buenos dias, Consuela. I've always enjoyed a special relationship with my students." And she gives like that forced like
yeah.
This is Peggy in her finest I'm better than everybody
she's really trying to run with it for sure.
She says, in fact, one of them reminded me yesterday that I was honored as substitute teacher of the year in 1996 through 1997 inclusive. Mrs. Ayers says, that's impressive. So many subs get bullied by their students. She goes, well, a bully is just someone who victimizes others to make themselves feel important. Peggy, would you like me to repeat that slowly? I mean, that is literally like the most bullyish thing I've heard. Yeah. The evaluator.
That's crazy.
The evaluator writing on the paper goes,
an ass.
Oh,
that was a real bully. Yeah, that was a real bully.
She's a turd.
Yeah, she's a bully.
The lady writing on the paper, she goes, oh, no. I'm just penalizing you for starting class late. You were saying? And so,
retorted right back at her.
That throws Peggy way off, number one. All right. So Peggy is already on pins and needles about this whole evaluation. So the way these things work is the evaluators would normally sit in the back of your class. They're supposed to not be there, quote unquote. Everybody knows they're there. The kids know they're there. The kids act up. The teachers act ways they wouldn't normally. I mean, it's just so fake.
It's a weird thing.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if I ever.
Like if you were in a class when it happened?
I feel like maybe. I mean,
you were. I mean, I guarantee in all the years that you were in school, you were in a class at some point or another.
My thing at this point is just put a camera in the class, right?
I'm surprised we don't have cameras in classes now.
Well, I think they do in some classes, but
some schools,
there are some places where you can't put those cameras though.
Legally.
Like honestly,
you're not letting record audio.
I would always tell kids, if you're going to fight, go out in the hall and do it. And that's because they are allowed to put cameras in the passing halls. And so I could get it on camera, and then whoever could take care of whatever, right? In my class, there was no camera. I couldn't do that. So
is it – I'm sorry. I'm not trying to dive –
No, you're good.
Why can't we put
There's
cameras
a reason I don't teach anymore.
Why can't we put cameras in classrooms? I'm not saying I want people to be able to, like, watch kids learn, but also –
I think
I think it would put pressure on the kids. It's not all kids because not all kids care, but a majority of parents had access to the classroom that their student was in, so they could physically see how their student was acting. I think it would change a lot of how parents think and feel about I mean, it's hard to do because there's a lot of parents that are funny about their kids being recorded or audio recording and stuff like that. So you have to deal with that. But just imagine if you could look and see your kid in class and they're acting an ass when the teacher tells you they are, and you don't believe them.
The thing is, there's generally
irrefutable proof.
The thing is, generally, whenever kids sign up for school, they waive their right to most of that stuff anyway.
Yeah, nobody pays attention to what they're reading.
But the problem is you can't put those the cameras in the classrooms because of different lawsuits and things like that.
Yeah.
But what that has done at this point is it gives the kids an upper hand because they all have cameras in their hands.
Yeah, that's the thing. We have all have cameras now.
That's what I'm saying. And so they're only going to film the bad stuff. The kids are.
Yeah.
And they're usually late to the game. So it's kind of like in the NFL, they always talk about, they penalize the second guy. Like one guy takes a swipe at a guy, he doesn't get penalized. It's the guy that swipes back, because that's when the ref sees it.
Yeah.
The same deal with these kids in these classrooms. By the time they're filming it, the fight's already started, or whatever has already
it's
happened.
And the guilty party is never going to be the guy that swings,
Right. I think if you
first,
were to put a just like a CCTV type camera in classes, people would completely forget they were in there until you actually needed it.
Mm-hmm.
As it is right now, teachers have to rely on kids doing stuff in the hall or whatever, and then it's word against word inside the classroom. And I'll tell you, 99 times out of 100, the kid's word's going to win. So,
yep.
Okay, so that was very heavy for this episode.
It is a heavy episode. I mean, it touches on.
It is a little bit.
It touches on corporal punishment in schools. Yeah. It touches on Peggy struggling with masculinity and femininity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of underlying tones.
Hank struggling with her masculinity.
Hank struggling with the fact that his wife. I mean, that's why he's attracted to her, is because she is a strong woman in a sense.
I think if Bill wore Peggy's dress long enough, Hank would be attracted to him.
I don't know. I don't want to do
maybe
not.
I don't maybe not
Bill.
Hank
Maybe
like Boomhauer. Maybe
Boomhauer. I don't want to do Hank like that. Yeah, I don't know.
I love the severe pause between the answer, though. That was great.
I don't know.
So Peggy is on pins and needles. She's at the blackboard. She goes, "Hola, may I say, Señorita Margarita Hill, ¿cómo te llamas?" And then you hear Joseph.
Me llamo
Joseph Gribble. Oh, bueno, Joseph Gribble. Jose Gribble, she calls him.
Yeah,
the students start laughing. She goes, "Oh, ¿cómo te llamas?" And then Clark says,
Me llamo Clark Peters.
Clark Peters.
Muchos gustos.
Mucho gustos.
Carlos Pedros.
Carlos Pedros. The kids laugh. Margarita. And
I got you on this next one.
Yeah, please. The students start laughing. And then what
he goes, vamos a aprender los partes del cuerpo humano por ejemplo.
Okay.
Este es mi mano, sí, muy divertido, no más. Okay, bueno, esta es mi cabeza.
Yeah, she points at her forehead, and then she's hitting the forehead with a Nerf pellet, right? And she looks over at the evaluator, she kind of sighs, and she says, "Can esta tirando los dardos de Nerf," which is fantastic. And little, I had to ask you his name earlier. Randy, Useless's son, he's the first to speak up and says, "Esta Dooley, Senora Hill."
Yeah.
Peggy says, "Senor Dooley, venga." Dooley looks at him and tells him he's dead. You're dead.
En español, por favor.
She says in español, por favor. And he goes to the front. Yep, he tells him that he's dead in Spanish. She says, muy bien, Senor Dooley. She's basically saying that he is coming up to the front of the class to be her special assistant.
Yeah, Senor Dooley está mi asistente especial.
And as she's talking, Dooley bends over and starts eating her sandwich out of her bag.
Well, she's messed up, man. That's her sandwich.
It is pretty damn messed up.
You just don't mess with somebody's lunch. That's why I always hated the cafeteria lunch thing where you put all your lunch boxes together and stuff at work and workplaces.
Yeah, sure.
There's so many times where. Because I would eat at the cafeteria. I would just pay the $4 or $5 and get like a little salad or just something. They had like a little grill.
Right, sure.
This is when I worked at the candy factory or whatever. So there's guys that would come and sit down. They would open their lunchbox and like half of their lunch would be gone. Mm-hmm. And they would be like, who in the fuck just steals half of your lunch?
Yeah.
It's like it's like they took half the sandwich, they took a bag of chips, and they left like a half of the sandwich.
See, if you had cameras in there, you could catch them.
Yeah, there you
go. Peggy is starting to get pretty flustered at this point. She says, stop it, I know what you're doing, just stop it. And Dooley fires back with her in español, por favor, further infuriating Peggy. She tries to get the class's attention in Spanish. Then all of a sudden we start seeing paper wads flying and paper airplanes flying. She has completely lost control of this class.
Yeah, and
Right.
and then she's just yelling,
well,
clase, atención, clase. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next thing we see, they're at home and she's reading through this report that the lady gave her, right?
Scathing reviews.
That's not the way it happens.
No, it's not.
You normally have to read about it a couple of days later or whatever because it takes them forever to put it in the system. But she says, needs improvement. I have never needed to improve on anything in my whole life. This will be in my personal file forever. Again, Peggy, you're an ass. I mean, I've never had to improve on anything in my life. Yeah.
She was a hell of a softball player.
She was, but I'm sure she needed improvement, you know?
I don't know. I've seen her hit a ball. I don't know if you need to improve on that. She's got it down pretty damn good.
She shows it to Hank, and of course Luann's over his shoulder because why wouldn't she be? Hank says, "Relax, Peggy. Everyone has a bad day. I remember back when I first started Strickland Propane, there was this guy who had a bad day. Well, see, I can't even remember the fellow's name now." And then he just looks down back at the paper. He's like, "Oh shit, I said the wrong thing." So we are back at Tom Landry Middle School. This is a wild and out of control class. There's kids up on the tables. There's all kinds of crap going on. She runs in and she says, "All right, everybody, sit down. Andale." Up on the board under her name, it says Esta Loco.
I got a question for you. Mm-hmm. So why do you think this phenomenon happens? Because I've been a part of some heinous sub activities, not a part of it, but in the classroom where we had this sub, and by the time she was subbing us, she was in her late 60s and wore a wig. And everybody knew she had a wig on because it was a wig. You know what I mean? It was not hair, it was a wig. And man, they raucous and profane bunch of kids ripped her damn wig off of her head in class and stuff like that. And they were running around the classroom with her wig playing, hot potato with it.
Here's my opinion on it, right?
What's your opinion?
I've been a sub.
Yeah.
In both regular classes.
Well, you're a tall, big guy, so do they still?
It doesn't matter.
It's not like there's not like a presence. Okay.
And what I was going to say is as a sub, I've been a sub in regular classes. I've been a sub in DAEP classes, which are where you said the bad kids and all that stuff, right? By the way, in DAEP, I was in the one where you had to wand the kids down when they came in.
Yeah,
and
misunderstood
all that stuff,
kids.
Yeah. But well, this kid wasn't misunderstood.
Yeah, some of them aren't. But I'm sure there's a good.
He just
few.
kept bringing knives to school. That's not
misunderstood.
Yeah.
No.
So
that's dangerous, especially in DAEP.
But what I think,
blood red flag.
That's right.
There you go.
But what is good. But what I think happens is very few of these subs are prepped on anything.
Yeah,
you're called 20 minutes before you're supposed to be there, right?
And some of them are they've never even been in.
You've never. I had to sub teaching. A theater class one time. I've never been in theater in my life. I've never taught that. I'm not prepped for it. It's a warm body in front of children.
That's
right?
all it is.
And especially middle school to high school kids.
Yeah, man,
they know blood in the water. They got it. They're zeroing in on you. You know. And the rest of them are just like, screw it, I'm just going to watch a movie or something.
Or sleep.
That's why you see so many subs
I always tried to leave the
classroom. Or something.
I always tried to leave the classroom. Like, can I go to the library? I don't want to be a part of anything that's about to happen.
Let me
leave. Like, please let me go somewhere else.
Let me tell you, any sub wants you to leave the classroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, abso-friggin-lutely.
No, I used to. Literally every time we had a sub, especially when I was in high school, because I was in ROTC as well.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, I would just tell the sub, oh, well, I usually finish my work and then go to the ROTC room.
Yep.
And the sub would be like, well, just finish your work and then you can go kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And
they
then
don't care.
Well, not only do they not care, they instantly see that I don't want to be a part of whatever the hell is about to happen.
Well, not only that, they're like, oh, great, one less.
One less.
That's
that
all
too.
it is.
Yeah, one less.
Yeah. Like if you're talking, my art classes, they would have 50 kids in them.
That's crazy.
And I mean, I didn't have places for all of them to sit. I didn't have pencils for all of them. I didn't have any of that. So God bless.
Where the hell was this?
It was here in town. But I would have 50, and then the guy across the hall from me would have 40. We'd have 90 kids together. So we would just combine them. Like, we couldn't keep a Spanish teacher, so we would have all their kids.
Escúchame.
Yeah, escúchame. We didn't have anybody to escúchame.
Big old escúchame class, yeah.
So
we could have just put on some. I really wish they would have done more, like, more content with King of the Hill. You know how funny it would have been to have a tape set or like a VHS tape set of Peggy teaching people Spanish, but actually have the Kathy Najimy actually doing real Spanish, but with Peggy's voice.
Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad did a really good job of this extra content during the series. So like during Breaking Bad, they had Gustavo Fring that owned the Los Pollos Hermanos. He would do like new employee videos and stuff like that,
that's
right?
cool, yeah.
And then during Better Call Saul, some of the lawyers would do like, here's how to get out of a ticket and blah 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 and that kind of stuff.
That's cool,
it was really cool content. So yeah, for King of the Hill, that would have been
so much
fantastic.
Stuff. There's so much stuff you could do. You could have had a gun safety video with Dale Gribble and Dale. Imagine a gun safety video hosted by Dale Gribble and Bobby Hill.
Yep. You got a Bill teach you how to cut hair. Whatever.
Yeah, that could have been a bunch of good
stuff. That would have been fantastic. So this class is out of control. Esta Loco is underneath her name on the board. She's trying to erase it. They've stuck chalk into the eraser. She's trying real hard to get it out. She pulls it out. Finally, she says, okay, we don't have a lot of time for monkey business. Then all of a sudden she's getting these reflections in her eyes. She can't see.
Mad,
You've got Dooley and Stewart both there with their watches, like
shining
reflecting
the sun
into her
face.
eyes. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing. She goes, so I think we're going to skip attendance today and finish up our vocabulary lesson. You hear all the kids laughing because of the thing in her eyes. She says, I've had it with you two. She goes over to both of them. She goes, and if you get to this point, you're out of control. If you have to say the words, I am a very fun teacher, but I will not be bullied. Things are over.
You just lost every bit of control.
You lost all of it.
That you had, not only with the classroom, but internally. You're out. You're out.
It's over. It's over. When you have to convince the kids that you're a fun teacher, you're not. She says, give me your watches. Come on, give them to me. I am not joking, you two. And then it happens.
This is what you would call the climax of the episode?
This is definitely the climax of the episode, or the apex of the episode, guess, or whatever. Dooley reaches over, pantses Peggy, pulls her pants down reveal the largest pink granny panties I've ever seen. And
you could literally float a boat across the sea with these bad boys. They're so damn big.
They are very big, pink granny panties.
I'm surprised they're even pink.
And then
that's very like.
I'm surprised
sultry.
they're not like yellowish
or just like a flesh tone.
Yeah, the flesh tone. She stands there, and then in slow motion, you see just this sea of. She realizes what happened, washes over her face. All the kids are laughing in slow motion, and she just snaps. She picks up Dooley, puts him over her knee, and starts spanking away. And she's like, "Oh yeah!"
His ass.
And then she goes, "Holy crap!" Because she realizes what has.
She realized what she just did, and that. And at that time period, though, you're at the end. You're like at the end of where corporal punishment is still not really, it's not really. You're not going to do it in the middle of class,
right?
But I don't know how many licks I heard people getting when I was in.
I got some. Yeah, absolutely.
I managed to avoid licks thanks to my parents thinking that the licks I got at home would be enough.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have to worry about licks at school.
Oh, like I said,
would have preferred the licks at school over the licks at home.
Like I said,
sure.
I went to a Baptist high school and middle school.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were all about spare.
They have a Baptist high school in this area?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it still around?
Yeah, it is.
I got lucky. I managed to. No teacher ever touched me.
Is it on Lake Shore?
It is. No, it's not on Lake Shore.
It's not that one, okay.
No, it is out towards Belmead. But it didn't used to be. It used to be downtown.
Would y'all say kids these days don't know how good they have it?
Well,
it's different. Like my dad remembers. Dad remembers when teachers would just literally grab you by your shirt, pick you up in the middle of the class.
Man. Oh, heck yeah.
Tear you up. Not even like just a tap. Just like tear you up, set you back in your seat, and continue with class. Like nothing ever happened. Whenever they took that away from teachers, that is when schools flipped upside down.
So Peggy,
no, just kidding. That's super controversial. I don't want to say that.
Peggy realizes. Thank you, Cotton.
Well, they do say
Peggy-
that like physical violence doesn't solve anything
Sure,
for kids.
sure.
But how easier was it for a teacher to teach when the fear
Oh,
of
well, we
something-
see that here in a
the
few
fear
minutes.
of physical
yeah.
violence.
So Peggy realizes what happened. She says, "Holy crap," and they go to commercial. This is a great time for us to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
So, Mike, we've got another St. Angeles candle to burn today. St. Angeles. We've got St. Germain.
St. Germain?
Yeah.
Hardly knew him.
STJGERMAIN. So this is I don't know. It's a very.
I don't know that saint.
It's a manly.
new one.
It's a manly smell.
Yeah,
Here.
it is. It is a little. I smell.
I don't know. I smell the blackberry. I
Little
smell like a
black
berry,
currant?
a black currant, like
Yeah.
a currant
Mhm.
smell. And it's funny because black currant in England they have a black currant concentrate drink called Ribena that I used to drink a lot as a kid.
Sure.
So it's kind of got a hint of that smell in there too.
It sounds like what people in a depressed, water-laden country would drink.
Yeah, it's really
Sure.
good. It's really good stuff actually. And then I can smell a hint of patchouli. I don't know. It's a very
Patchouli.
manly scent.
It is a
So,
little manly.
For
Yeah.
all of you lady listeners,
I can feel the
it's,
hair on my chest growing.
It's reminiscent of the cologne that you would, spray on your pillow from your significant other, or
On your
the-
boyfriend's shirt.
on your boyfriend's shirt, or the hoodie that you stole.
Mm-hmm.
The,
On your
the-
dog's
the f-
collar.
The fragrance of men's body odor
Sure.
mixed with cologne.
Fragrance of men's body odor. Yum.
Nah, it smells great. It's a
Burn
great
it.
smelling candle.
It is really good, though. I mean,
It's a very manly scent. So
this thing's-
I like it.
This thing reminds me a little bit of the miracle of the oils too, though. It's been burning for about 7 days.
Her candles burn really, really well. I like how
Yeah.
they burn. They burn real
Yeah.
evenly. Everything just, I don't know. You got to let it after you
Oh.
buy one and you clip you
Well
clip
made.
your wick. You let it burn for 2
Wait,
hours or
wait a
whatever,
minute,
and it's
wait,
just
wait,
great.
You got to clip your wick?
You always clip the wick on every candle you buy.
I don't clip a wick.
Well, you're messing up your candles.
How am I messing up the candles if I don't clip the wick?
Well, you have to clip the wick because if you light the wick, it just the wick burns until it
Oh.
settles out, right? So you cut it so it doesn't have all that extra heat and stuff and uneven it's uneven. It'll burn your candle weird and uneven.
I've never read that on the instructions, but I will start
It does.
clipping my wicks.
Even on the dollar store candles,
charcoal.
if you look on the bottom of a dollar store candle, it'll say clip X amount of the wick before burning.
Clip the wick.
So these are not dollar store candles. These are very, very good candles that you can
So
find
you
at
especially have to clip the wick here.
Saint-Angeles.com
Saint-Angeles.com
/candles.
/candles.
And if you use the creator code KOTH20, you'll get a slight discount on those candles. And we appreciate everybody that's
Ooh-wee.
already bought candles from her
Yeah,
using
man.
our code.
She's been selling some candles.
She has let me know that you guys actually bought some candles. So
You
we
know what she's
appreciate that.
doing? You know what we're helping her do? Make the world a better smelling place.
It does, because before we burnt this candle, my guts are tore up right now.
Smelled
and
like ass in here.
I was just dropping, like toots, like real nasty
dropping
toots.
toots.
Dropping real nasty toots.
If you drop toots,
Mason
think
could smell it through the glass,
Saint-Angeles.
so that was great. So yeah, everybody, saint-angeles.com /candles. If you hurry up and order them, you might be able to get it for Christmas. Don't hold me to it because I don't know what the shipping time is. But either way, if you can't get it for Christmas, get it after Christmas. Get it, if you get your tax income check coming in, go and just splurge on that.
Get 'em.
They do not accept EBT, unfortunately, right now, but I heard that it's in the works.
I was at a gas pump yesterday and something popped up and said they now take Wix, WEX. I don't know what the hell that is.
I don't know what that is either.
But St. Angeles does not take Wix.
They don't take wicks,
Right.
but they have wicks on deck.
Clip your Wix.
Clip your wicks.
That's right. All right, St. Angeles, great candles. Go buy one.
Saint-Angeles.com /candles, code KOTH20.
All right, we are back, and we are in the Hill House, and Peggy is freaking the hell out. She is like 18 years of teaching, thrown out the window with one flick of the wrist.
Flick of the wrist.
She is just pacing back and forth in front of Hank. Hank, again, has just got the paper. He really could kind of care less. He's just listening. She goes, don't panic, Peggy. She's talking to herself. There's lots you can do. I could design software. People have always said that. Who the hell is telling Peggy she can design software?
I don't know.
Where is that coming from? That is like the
don't know.
most weird pull that she could have made. I could design software. People are always telling me that. Who Who's telling you that?
Who's telling you
She goes,
that?
I could open up a paint your own pottery store. You know how much they get for that crap? Hank is like, slow down, Peggy. They won't fire you. You're a substitute teacher. They'll just stop calling. And she's just like, oh, dear God. Then she realizes what he just said. He goes, but that's not going to happen either.
Yeah.
She goes, well, maybe it should. I hit an innocent child. He said, I'm sure you didn't hurt him. I should know. I got spanked plenty in school. Peggy goes, really? And you turned out just fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's questionable, but sure.
Very, very questionable.
Hank says, better than fine. Well, again, Hank's sounding a little like Peggy here. Better than fine. And back then, they even used to use a paddle called Old Spanky. It was a piece of hickory about yay big, and it had holes drilled in it, cut down wind resistance, and a little pine tar on the hand. He starts to like descend into this. He starts to remember it, and he's just like,
it's not a good thing. It was
God.
terrible.
Yeah.
And Old Spanky is a play on the last chair, the electric chair. When
Old
Texas
Sparky.
used to
I didn't even
do-
think about that.
Yeah, that's a play on Old Sparky,
That's really good. Yeah, I didn't think about
which
that.
was the colloquial term used for the electric chair here in Texas.
So he says, good old Spanky, and then kind of gives it a weak chuckle because he's just like, ooh. Bobby comes running in from outside. Mom, what were you thinking? She goes, Bobby, honey, I'm so sorry. I just did not know what to do. He goes, Dooley pantsed you. That's what he does. And then when it happens, you pull up your pants and you move on. If you don't know that, no wonder you bombed on your evaluation. Jesus, Bobby.
Bobby killed her on that, boy. He
that's
eviscerated
rough.
her. That's terrible.
That
yeah.
is rough.
That's super rough.
So next scene, we are now at Principal, what's his name?
Oh, Moss.
Moss's
Principal Moss.
office. Yeah. Is it Moss? Is he the one that lives with Bill?
Yeah, Principal Carl
Right,
Moss.
later?
Yeah, it's Moss.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right. I don't know. For some reason, that doesn't.
He shows
click
up
with
too
me.
much for you to not know his name.
I know. I'm so sorry. Principal Moss's office with Dooley's parents, and Peggy says, I never even spank our dog. Not that your son is worse than our dog, because he's not. We have a very, very good dog, so that speaks volumes of your son. Peggy just has diarrhea of the mouth. I mean, she just is
Extreme
trying to
diarrhea
talk
of
her
the
way out
mouth.
of this thing. Dooley's parents, his dad says, Mrs. Hill, please, we should apologize to you. I'm sure Stuart deserved it. And he flips his hair, right? You see where Stuart gets the parted hair.
Yeah.
And then he goes, we know what a handful he could be. She goes, oh, well, what are you saying? And then Dooley's mom speaks up, and she goes, you did good. So we see where he gets the hair, and we see where he gets the voice, from both sides. Yeah. And then the principal, he's like, let's see. Teacher statement response from the parents. Okay. Looks like all our ducks are in a row. Peggy, you're fired. Just like boom, boom, boom. There you go. See ya. She
okay,
goes,
Peggy, you're fired.
but the Dooleys forgave me. He goes, let's see. There's nothing in here about forgiveness. There are procedures for administering legal spankings, which you violated every turn, and there are procedures for terminating a teacher, which I followed to a T. Emily, by the way, is a very small girl hall monitor who
Not
comes
only
in
that,
the door.
she's actually a recurring character, and this is her first appearance.
He goes, Emily, I'm required to have a hall monitor escort you off campus.
Yeah.
Emily comes in, takes Peggy's hand, and goes,
That's the funniest thing ever. I'm required to have a hall monitor escort you off campus.
Yeah, and she goes-
they're officially trained to.
she takes her hand and goes, it's over, Mrs. Hill. That's a great line.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So we're back at the Hill house. Once again, I want to make a point. Somebody is upset in the Hill family. They are face down in something. They go face down into whatever
it is.
That's
Yeah.
right. She is face down on the bed with her two Spanish substitute teacher of the year
trophies.
awards.
And she's sitting there crying on them.
She's just like, I'm sorry, ladies. Looked like there's not going to be a three-peat. Hank walks in. She goes, oh, Hank, what am I going to do? He goes, well, I got you a book on designing software.
A huge, thick book, too.
He hands her a book that's called Concept of Software Design. And she's on the bed with the trophies, and she just starts sobbing again. Hank just like backs out. He's done everything that Hank knows to do at this point.
Yeah.
We are outside gardening with Peggy. I'm sure she's trying to get her mind off of it. She's in that dumb little garden with her big floppy hat on. She's talking to herself. She says, well, you had it all, Peggy Hill. You had it all. That's the tip top of someone's life. Up comes Cotton in his Cadillac car. Hey there, Hank's wife. What are you crying for? You got your monthlies? She says, Cotton, I am in no mood. Why are you here? VFW meeting, pancake supper, so I need you to whip me up some pancakes. Couple hundred will do. As much syrup as you got. She goes, fine. I will make you 200 pancakes.
pancakes.
He goes, how's Bobby? She She goes, he's just fine, but my information about Bobby's a little dated. He hasn't spoken to me since I got fired for spanking a student. What'd you do, kill him? No. Ain't no law against spanking. I'll tell you what, I got a friend over at the VFW. Used to be principal at Hank's school. He'll have you back spanking in no time. She's like, oh. She gets a little bit of hope, and it's from Cotton, which has got to be as far down the rungs as you can possibly go. She says, oh, well, I just want my job back. I'm not going to spank again. He goes, shut up before you talk me out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking Cotton would just sit there and watch kids get spanked.
Yeah, isn't this where we meet the other principal now?
We do. We now meet Jeter the Beater.
Yep, Principal Jeter.
Yep. He says, this is at the VFW. Peggy's there with all the old guys. Run me through names of some of the old guys. What are their names? Because we find out later on.
Like
Lefty,
Stinky, Lefty.
Snoozy.
Oh, I don't know about that. I know it's Stinky, Lefty. That's the only two that I can remember.
Isn't Topsy there too?
Topsy. That's it.
Yeah.
Topsy's the one that dies.
Topsy's the one that has no teeth and puts his bottom lip over his face.
That's right. Oh, Topsy.
Blows his cheeks out. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Jeter the Beater is talking, and he goes, in my 35 years at Tom Landry Middle School, I spanked thousands of students, shaping their character and preparing them to die in overseas wars. She goes, actually, I only spanked once. Cotton comes back, hell, she's just being modest. She's the first teacher since they killed LBJ to stand up to those draft dodgers. So Jeter the Beater says, all right, Peggy, we're going to get you back in that classroom. And all the old guys start cheering, and they agree. The old guy says, or Jeter says, step one, you got to meet the school board. And then he hands her
a piece
old
of wood,
Spanky.
like a school board.
It is a very large paddle, big holes in it. It's exactly what Hank described, right? So cut down on wind resistance with the holes in the paddle.
Yeah. So my
this was exactly what the paddle looked like at my Baptist middle school.
My son.
Are you serious?
Yeah. No. Well, this is where I got a story from. So my son, his great grandparents, which is also my best friend from childhood. It's his grandparents.
Okay.
So
your best friend from childhood is your son?
No, my best friends from childhood. I had a kid with his cousin. So
gotcha. Okay.
His grandparents were longtime teachers. They were like 35, 40-year teachers.
Yeah,
They were for like
sure.
35, 40 years.
Sure,
And, of
yeah.
course, they were in that era where you could.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he was a principal as well. My friend's grandpa was a principal.
Absolutely.
So he had a paddle on his wall. But the unique thing about his paddles is he had students sign the paddle.
Yeah. I've seen that.
So he ends up with a small pile. After 40 years of teaching, he has this small pile of every name.
It's like a
of every
graveyard
kid
of
that
asses,
ever whooped his
you
ass.
know?
That he ever whooped their ass.
That's
it's a
as
graveyard
well as
of
one,
asses. That's
as
what it
well
is.
as one for his grandkids, and his grandkids. Not all of them signed it though, because not all of them got their butt whooped. But I never got my butt whooped, so I never had to sign it. But he had free range to whoop my ass.
That's cold, man.
It is
that's
very
that's
cold. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very cold.
So they knew that you knew when you got in trouble. You walked over, you just grabbed a paddle off the wall, and you took it to your grandpa, and he whooped your ass. That's how it was. I mean, that's the South. That's
Sign
how it
it.
was. Yeah.
Thank it for beating you.
That's
Now sign it.
exactly what it is. So she hands him or
Collecting
he
souls.
hands her old
Yeah.
Spanky. He goes, "Go on, take it. It's yours." She goes, he goes, "I got nobody to hit anymore." She says, "Thanks for the terrific symbol and helping me get my job back." All right, guys, let's hear it for Paddling Peggy. And then, of course, in
Take
the
off
back,
your top.
Take off your top. And then another guy says, "Shut up, Wendell. That's for tomorrow night." And then Peggy lofts the paddle big in the air like she's just going to conquer something.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're now in the alley with all four guys. Peggy drives up, seemingly very fast.
Yeah.
And she's just like,
quick.
"Hi, guys." And then she comes back out and she goes, "Hank, I just had the most inspiring afternoon with Cotton and his Army buddies. They're going to circulate a petition to help me get my job back. I even have the support of your old principal, Jeter Turberville." He goes, "Jeter the Beater?" Dale's like, "Oh, God, what is that under your arm?" She says, "Old Spanky. Can you believe they ever used to use something like this?" And she smacks it, and all four guys' butts clinch all at the
All
same
of 'em.
time in unison. It's like,
Oh
"Ooh."
yeah. Whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't like it. Every single one of them knows what it tastes like.
She takes off, and Dale says, "Spanking was wrong then, and it's wrong now. I say spare the rod and spoil the child." Hank's like, Dale, spare the rod and spoil the child means you're in favor of spanking. He goes, I don't think so. Boomhauer, man, I tell you what, I bring back a little bad memory talking about old Jeter Beater, whack man, old time in pillows, man. And then you get Bill. Well, I don't know. My daddy spanked me every day from when I was 9 till I was 16. I turned out okay. Bastard. This is
there we go. We get more insight into Bill, so we don't really you don't really get a lot of insight into Bill's family except for just the crap that he says.
Yeah.
So you get more insight into why he is the way he is.
This is a wonderful supporting character episode. Like there are so many supporting characters in this thing. You know, whether it be Stuart or Dooley or
really
Bill
heavy.
or Dale or whoever. Yeah.
It's really heavy on recurring characters for sure.
It's very good.
Wait, that was funny, Mike. I'm sorry. You said Stuart or Dooley, but
Well,
his name is Stuart Dooley.
Whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at the character list on this particular episode, you get Hank, Peggy, Bobby, Luann, Dale, Nancy, Joseph, Jeff.
Yeah, you get a bunch of them.
Bill, Con, Min, Connie.
Well,
I mean,
Con and Min are in it. They don't even speak, but they're in it at some point.
Yeah.
Also, the crew from Channel 84.
Well, and actually, apparently, according to some trivia here, this episode actually reuses animation from the episode Square Peg.
Really?
I don't know what part of animation, but that's only the second. That's the second episode of the season 1. So somewhere in here, there's recycled animation, but I don't know where.
Well, I mean, I don't blame them.
That's information I'm just now reading that I didn't read earlier
Disney
before I watched
did that
it.
for a million years.
Oh, Disney did that with everything.
Oh man, you can look at some of those things and you can see.
Yeah,
they'll show them side by side.
The Jungle
and it's
Book
exactly the same,
and Robin Hood. They have tons of the with the bears, like the bear movements and stuff like that, with Baloo, and then with the
and then they
Little John,
and then they'll show like the Seven Dwarfs, and that's other characters. That
Yeah,
are already
yeah,
dancing.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they just reuse it.
I mean, you got to when you're
I
making
get it,
millions
man.
of dollars.
All that stuff was done by hand, so I certainly get it. Have you ever done anything like that? You ever done any animation?
Yeah, we did in middle school.
Yeah.
We had a really good art teacher, and she was like an art teacher that you were with for like 3 years.
And then you stole
so
her
you got
wig
to not that teacher. I didn't steal anybody's wigs. So that was actually in a reading class. But so you got to actually develop with her, you know, because she got to teach you. She actually cared because you were there for 3 years with her. And if you took all 3 years of art, and I took all 3 years of art. I was in art club and stuff like that. So we got to do some. We did like the corner of pages kind of animation.
Flip book.
We did a flip book. Flip book. We did flip book animation. We did some. What's it called? It's really heavy. Like in England, they had England had a Renaissance period of it. Stop motion animation.
Yeah.
All the stop motion animation stuff. We did a bunch of stuff like that.
Stop
I feel like
motion's
that was
cool.
fun.
Yep.
That's really fun.
There's a lot of cool
It's hard,
apps.
but-
There's a lot of cool apps for your phone now where you can do stop motion.
Yeah, actually, we were at
Really good
the
stuff.
museum in Dallas last year in the spring, and they had a whole like in one of the hands-on workshop area for kids. They had a whole stop motion animation,
that's cool.
like little workshop that they were doing with the kids, and they have the tablets set in front, and then they gave them like a little toy or something that they could manipulate and move through the sequence or whatever, which was pretty neat.
I did. I went to commercial art and advertising. I've got a degree in commercial art and advertising.
Okay.
And when I did that, I was able to make a short cartoon called "The Clown from Hell."
Yeah.
And so it's about this robot clown that comes up out of the flames and is just looking to kill people by hitting them in the face with pies.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was able to, but we had to do it all by hand was my point.
Yeah. It's all hand
Yeah, it was
animation, all the drawing, and then
one click at a time, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are at Megalomart, which has a big banner that says open during remodeling.
So when you're doing that, that's one frame at a time, right?
One at a time.
Wow.
Yeah,
and how many frames? How many? It's like 5, 6, 7, 800 frames.
Dude, I had
thousands
a
of frames
stack
for animation.
like this, you know, and it's probably 12 inches deep. A stack of
you could have just sent it to Korea, like King of the Hill, and they would have animated it for you.
This is before Korea existed. So
this is pre North Korea.
That's right. It's pre any Korea, before it popped up out of the sea. We have we're at Megalomart, and there's a big banner up that says "Open during remodeling." My favorite part of this entire scene is the Chuck Mangione standee that he is saying remodeling feels so good.
Yeah, they're rebuilding the Megalomart after the explosion.
Yeah, after the explosion. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is
But they're still open.
continuity. Well, they are open now. I think this is the first time you see them. But it's cool though because it adds to the fact that we had discussed before that a lot of animated shows don't have the continuity.
The continuity is not there.
They didn't care about continuity as much. They threw in a little bit of continuity here and there. Like I know that in The Simpsons specifically in the first season, first episode, he might actually, I think it is the very first episode, he gets Santa's little helper. He gets the dog in the first episode.
Yeah.
And then there's different things where they talk about Santa's little helper, and it runs in a story. You know, it runs in continuity. So they have a little bit of it, but the fact that
if you think
beginning of this season, we start with Megalomart flat, and then now 11 episodes in, we're seeing the rebuilding phase.
Yeah, because like if you think about like Tom and Jerry cartoons or something, Tom gets hit in the face with a frying pan, he's fine the next scene.
Yeah, the next scene. Kind of thing. Well, the second he just puts his thumb in his finger and blows it back to normal or whatever, you know.
That's what I love about the Evil Dead movies. The Evil Dead movies are like live action cartoons.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff that happens in the next scene, he's fine.
He's fine.
You know, or the scratches went away, or the big cut or whatever. So we're at the Megalomart. Peggy is in there shopping, and one of the teachers comes up to her, who has a very gruff voice. Peggy, we sure do miss you at Landry. She says, thanks. I'm not a spanker, okay, but if you bring discipline back into our school, I'm behind you 100%. I wish I had the guts to do, sister. She goes, I'm no hero. Stuart Dooley just caught me on a bad day. She goes, don't be modest. You're an inspiration to all of us teachers, and that's why we signed the petition in support of Paddling Peggy. Oh, well, that's just those vets being silly. Here, have a button. She already has I Heart Paddling Peggy.
I Heart Paddling Peggy. I have to say that whoever's campaigning for her here, I mean, it rivals some of these presidential campaigns that you've seen.
They did a fine job because everybody has a friggin' button at some point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we're now at the school cafetorium where the school board is meeting, and old useless Eustace says the school board vote on reinstating Mrs. Peggy Hill passes. Everybody gets up and cheers. The vets are like, all right, Paddling Peggy. The teacher says, walk tall, sister. Cotton says, we did it, Hank's wife. Peggy stands up, says, party at my house, pancakes for everybody. And then, of course, in the crowd, we hear, take your top off.
Damn.
In the middle of a school board
Take
meeting.
your top off.
We're back at their home. They are leaving for work, that being Hank and Peggy.
In Texas, I'm pretty sure that's probably been said at a school board meeting in Texas
I don't
more
doubt
than
that.
once.
Probably last week.
Well, there was, I don't think it's school board, but it's the city council in the Dallas or Fort Worth area. They always have these weird things happen, and they post them on the internet. Like, there was this one where this guy was rapping to them about something. I can't remember what it was.
There was one in California a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
These ladies come walking up, and they're in those full leather dom suits.
Well,
right?
I think only one was a dominatrix. The other were just their servants.
But, I mean, they're all wearing these leather outfits, and they walk into the thing, and they talk about how they want part of the tax dollars to go to a public dungeon.
Yes. You can find this. This actually happened.
Yes,
it actually happened. Well, that's the thing is
and
that's
also
the beauty about that's the beauty of our constitutional right of expression is you get this weird content to consume.
Like, you got to respect it just for having the gall to do that. But also, I love how, and you can. This was pointed out to me. If you watch it and listen, she's not actually asking.
No,
she's telling them to give her this money.
And my favorite part of the video is the guy who is responding to her on the council. He's like, all right, thank you. Have a Merry Christmas. It's just like, he's just like, okay, that's another one, down. He's just checking a box. So she has been reinstated. We're back at their house. Hank and Peggy are leaving for work in the mornings. He goes, well, I'm off to work, Mrs. Hill. She goes, me too, Mr. Hill. Mrs. Hill, why are you bringing the paddle? She goes, oh, I have to. People are expecting it. Besides, your father worked very hard to put Paddling Peggy back in the classroom. Hank's like, well, see, that's the thing. My dad thinks you're going to use it. She goes, oh, Hank, don't be silly, honey. It's just a bluff. I'm going to scare my students exactly the way President Reagan scared hundreds of millions of Russians with the Star Wars death beam. He goes, I miss voting for that man. We are back at Tom Landry Middle School. Peggy comes in.
Isn't some of the, I don't want to get too far into
Yeah.
politics, but isn't some of the policies and stuff Ronald Reagan implemented or the reason why the school system right now is
Oh,
struggles?
sure. Yeah. Well, mental health is my
Yeah, that's
biggest
what I
thing
mean.
with
It's like the
them.
mental
Yeah.
health thing.
So we're back at the Tom Landry Middle School, and Peggy is in class. She says, listen, I just want to apologize for what happened the other day. And by the way, the kids all know she has this paddle at this point. She's just like wielding it, right? She says, I will never, ever spank another student like that again because I now have this. She pulls out old Spanky, and all the kids are just like, oh. She says, but of course it will not be necessary to use this because we all know now I have it in me. She says, so why don't we just start all over? Yo soy paddling Peggy Hill.
Yep.
She writes that on the board. She says, and the kids are all freaking out. The kids are very scared, you can tell.
Yep.
Joseph looks at Connie. Connie looks at Joseph. Now she is writing some stuff on the board. El Capital de Uruguay es Montevideo.
You know
And
that,
she's hitting the board the whole time with the paddle, and
Yeah.
all the kids are just like, oh,
Yeah, she's being weird with it.
the whole time.
She's taking it to a weird level. But
Yeah.
did you know that Uruguay is one of the largest beef producers? They're in the top 10 beef exporters in the world.
Fantastic.
Uruguay, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now
They
we
say
know
they
where
have
you're gonna
really,
be.
really good beef there.
They have free range cows.
That's the thing with Uruguay is it's a lot of good meat that they produce because a lot of it is free range. They got a lot of water, they
Yeah.
got like a lot of fresh water
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Uruguay being an underdeveloped nation, they're not like super underdeveloped. They're a pretty developed nation, but they have cared about their natural resources, so a lot of their water supply and stuff is intact.
Right.
Where there's not a lot of damming and things
Yeah.
like that, because literally what destroyed the West is damming it all up is what destroyed our water system out that way. And
Has seen in No Brother, Where Art Thou?
yeah, as seen, no brother, we're out there. Not only that, there's a lot of controversy around the Glen Canyon and the Grand Canyon being dammed up
I
back
loved
in the
his
day.
music.
So
Glen Canyon.
yeah, Glen
He was
Canyon.
great.
So back in the day, they were gonna actually flood the Grand Canyon over flooding
Yeah.
the northern part Glen Canyon, but they ended up flooding Glen Canyon. Well, the Sierra Club guys had floated through it before they flooded it,
Oh, wow.
and they said, "I think we made a grave mistake."
Yeah, no
and
kidding,
where
guys.
we
Yeah.
we chose to flood,
Look
kind
what
of
you did.
thing. Yeah,
So we are now. She is writing the stuff on the board. She's scaring the bejesus out of these kids. The kids jump every time she says something. Connie looks over at Joseph and says, "You think she's going to use that paddle?" Joseph says, "I don't know, but I'll tell you what." And then Peggy is just on him with
On
the
'em.
paddle in her hand. She goes, "Excuse me, should you be talking while I'm talking?" Paddle and Peggy says, "Uh-oh." Paddle and Peggy says, and then she just starts swinging that paddle around like she
On her
is
finger,
the top
yeah.
dick, boy. We are back in the alley with all four, and Bobby comes running up and says to Hank, "You got to do something about Mom. This whole Paddle and Peggy shtick is really creepy."
It's creepy.
I love when he
yeah,
says shtick.
Yeah, shtick.
Is really creepy.
It is creepy.
Joseph won't even come over to play anymore because he says he's having nightmares about that stupid paddle. Dale says, "Did you hear that? My son is dreaming about getting spanked by your wife." And of course, Bill is like, "Well, that's not so unusual."
Yeah, that's not unusual for him at all.
Bill says, "Well, that's not so unusual." All right, creepy Bill.
Yeah, Bill's creepy.
Dale says, "You got to get your woman in line." Hank says, "Peggy's kind of hard to talk to lately." Bill, being the ever-knowing, all-seeing psychological,
Yeah, this is funny.
he says, "Well, she's feeling powerful, so now her body is producing extra amounts of testosterone. I bet if Peggy wanted to, she could grow a mustache."
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know why she'd want to.
Yeah, I don't know why she'd want to.
Next thing we see is in the kitchen, Bobby and Peggy and Luann and Hank are all eating supper. Peggy scratches at her lip. Hank looks at it and he's like, "Oh my God, my woman's growing a mustache." So Luann, being the thoughtful and thought-provoking person she is, dings on the glass like she's making a toast and says, "Guess who won Best French Manicure at the Beauty Academy today?" And then freaking crickets. Nobody says anything.
Nobody says a word.
It's rough. So they sit there for a very uncomfortable minute while everybody eats their chicken legs. And Bobby says, "Dad, can I go ride bikes with Joseph?" Peggy says, "I thought we'd watch Shark Week on the Discovery Channel. Michael Palin is hosting."
Yeah.
Bobby says, "I don't want to." She goes, "But honey, you love Michael Palin. Are you coming down with something? Let me feel your forehead." Bobby just jumps back. Says, "I don't want to watch your stupid show, okay?" And then he just runs off. She goes, "Bobby, Well, what is wrong with him? Hank says, probably nothing, or could be you and your whooping stick. She goes, it's a paddle, and he has a name. It's Old Spark. It's Old Sparky. So you got that in my head.
Spanky.
It's Old Spanky. Hank, she goes, Hank, do I tell you how to sell propane and propane accessories? Did I criticize you for your big Spatula Tuesday fiasco? No, I did not, because I respect you as a professional, and that is all I want, Hank, just a little respect. But I guess that's too much to ask for you or Bobby. She gets up, storms off. And then Luann says, all right, it was Sharona Johnson. It's not fair. She works really hard. That's the end of your scene.
She can't catch a break.
No, she can't catch a break.
cannot.
She wouldn't know it if she did. And I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pile on Luann. I know we have people out there that are very sensitive to that. We are now outside, and Peggy is about to take off. We see Channel 84 setting up their satellite vehicle outside of their house.
The Hill residence.
She says, Hank, Channel 84 wants to do something on Paddling Peggy. Where is old Spanky? She's just looking around for it like crazy. He goes, well, maybe you left it at work. She goes, no. I know I had it with me on the drive home. I remember brandishing it at this idiot who almost cut me off. She crawls into the car. She's just in a panic looking for it.
I'm driving home. Brandish.
She's
God.
dirty.
Yeah.
She's got crap all over. Her hair's all
She's
all
frazzled.
disheveled. She's like an addict
I think
you know?
I think she lost a lot of confidence in the classroom.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
in that situation.
Oh, absolutely.
And now that she has this paddle, I think she's like associated all of her confidence with this paddle, and without this paddle, she can't be assertive without it.
Yeah, no kidding. She goes, like you said, brandish. Oh, God, I must have dropped it on the street. Hank's like, stop, Peggy, would you look at yourself? And she looks over into the trash that says Dale Gribble's trash on it, and she sees old Spanky in there. She goes, Spanky, Joseph Gribble, did you put this here? And the kids come riding up. He goes, no. She goes, Joseph, you are talking to Paddling Peggy here. And Dale walks up. He goes, all right, what's going on? And he sees the paddle, and he does his little giggy. She says, your son stole my Paddling Peggy paddle. This is the only thing that stands between the Arlen school system and complete chaos. She's just shaking this thing at Dale.
Apologize, you.
Yeah, she's talking to Joseph.
Very, very like.
She gets Joseph by like the back of his shirt. She's
like
about
very
to try to go
comfortable,
after him.
Forgetting she's not in school.
No,
Well,
she's
not
not
only
in
she has
school.
no authority over
like,
him.
His
No.
dad is sitting right there too. Like my dad would have snatched her up.
Yeah, he said, Joseph, honestly, standing up to her, he's like, I didn't do anything. She goes, all right, I'm not going to talk to you. You didn't apologize, so you chose your fate. Dale's like, somebody stop her. Hank is just, Peggy. She goes, Joseph standing up to her says, no, I said I didn't do anything. Bobby coming to his aid says, he was telling the truth, Mom. He was with me all day. She goes, well, somebody took it. Dale, of course, points at Bill and says, it was Bill.
No, it wasn't.
Bill's like, no, it wasn't. He goes, all right, it was me. I took it. Somebody had to stop you. You're crazy. She then sees everybody shaking their head. She looks up into the convex mirror that you see, like at the back of a 7-Eleven or something. But I'm assuming it's around a corner so that people can't hit each other or whatever. They see other cars coming. She drops the paddle, and she sees herself as just like this ugly, just terrible person holding on to Joseph.
She looks. It's a really bad optic too, because they start moving the camera around. You see everybody's expressions on it. You got like the news vans right here with the news on you. You got Con looking. Everybody's bowing their head and shaking their heads. Yeah, it's a bad optic for Peggy here. It makes her look completely out of control.
Bobby shakes his head and just rides away. Dale grabs up Joseph and says, "It's okay, son. Your daddy's here." And he looks at her and just calls her a big bully.
Your daddy's here. Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's rough. We're now in the kitchen, and she is all put together again. And she says, "Oh, Hank, what was I thinking?" He goes, "Well, the important thing is your spanking days are over, right?" She goes, "Well, so are my teaching days, at least until the day that they make pants that cannot be pulled down by someone other than the wearer." Hank says, "Sounds to me like you're scared. You know, I have a little speech I've been saving for the day Bobby got beat up by a bully, but I don't think that's going to ever happen. Him and his darn prop comedy, every time the boy gets into a jam, he shoves french fries up his nose and makes a new friend."
It's
anyway.
He's talking. I like that though. That's a praise for Bobby.
It really kind of
Bobby
is.
You can't bully somebody who doesn't care.
That's right.
About anything you're doing.
He goes, "Anyway, I think my speech might apply here. Do you want to hear it?" She goes, "Oh, Hank, no." She goes, "Somewhere inside me is the old Peggy Hill. the one who taught children without scaring the bejesus out of them. I just need to find her again.
That is
It's a very southern phrase,
thing.
yeah.
Bejesus.
Yeah, scared the bejesus out of them. So we're back at Tom Landry Middle School, assuming Peggy has kind of come to her senses, but we don't really know yet. Joseph is in there talking to the class before the bell rings. He goes, and then she freaked out and she dropped the paddle right in the middle of the alley. Without the paddle, she looked just like Bobby's mom. Well, okay, Joseph, idiot, but whatever. Dooley comes up. You hear the bell ring. He goes, "That's the bell." Peggy comes in. Buenos dias, class A. Senor Dooley, I thought you were suspended. He goes, I thought you were fired. The whole class laughs. She goes, oh, bygones are bygones, so welcome back. Well, I thought we might talk about, and she pulls down the map, and it's got a crudely drawn caricature of her with her pants down and hairy legs, I might add.
Yeah, they did add an extreme amount of hair to her legs.
She was like, I thought we might talk about a special part of Spanish history. She sees the thing. The whole class starts laughing. Dooley says, your feet are big. They all keep laughing. And then the geeky kid again speaks up, Paddling Peggy, why don't you spank them? Clark, yeah, Paddling Peggy. She goes, fine. All you children are interested in is punishment, so I will teach you about punishment with this. And she pulls out a freaking mace.
Which I think is well, so she's doing the other route. Well, she's doing the other route.
Where'd she get the
Well, she's taking it to the other route. So generally, there's two ways to control a classroom. One is fear, and one is interest. Capturing the hearts and minds of the children. You bring a mace to a class and start swinging around your head in a history class, they're going to listen to everything you have to say. They're going to learn something that day because you made it interesting. That's the problem with a lot of education is the teachers have to teach to the test, and they can't be creative in the classroom.
So she pulls out this mace, starts swinging it around. Randy, yes. She goes, oh yeah, and starts spinning it around. She goes, she uses it to smack the picture of her with the hairy legs off of the map. She goes, Spain, 1478, the weapon of choice, the mace. It was the beginning of the Spanish Inquisition. By the way, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Even though it was begun with the best of intentions, a number of very nice, innocent people were brutally punished, and without the doubt, the worst thing about the Spanish Inquisition was the fact that nobody ever said they were sorry. Well, I don't think that's true, Peggy, but okay. I think it was all the people that were killed in the name of a religion, but it might not be the apologies they were really missing.
Yeah.
But she does look over at Joseph when she says that. One of the kids says, Connie says, how were they punished? Because Connie is really trying here, I mean, she's trying to get back into it. She goes, all kinds of awful ways. Clark says, like what? She says, well, sometimes they would strike you with one of these. Sometimes they would make you lie on a bed of spikes and then pour boiling oil on you. Oh, she goes, And sometimes they would tie your arms and legs to 4 different horses and tear you apart. Dooley, of course, looks at the geeky kid and goes, cool. So veiled threat there to
very
the
veiled
kid.
threat.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we see that Peggy has come around and she's gotten back control of her class, but more importantly, control of herself.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the kids are all enjoying this and all that. And I think deep down that shows us that Peggy is a good teacher.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know what the hell she's talking about.
She just lost her way. That's all it was. She just lost her way a little bit.
She did.
She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about, but she's able to at least gather their attention in some way, shape, or form.
Spanish. Yeah.
Well, she doesn't know Spanish. No, not at all.
So we're back at the end here. She's in the garden. Like I said, Hank is on the mower, which I don't understand because I feel like he would just be spitting crap all over her. She goes, why? I feel like I'm being watched, because she sees eyes through the knotholes in the fence next door. She says, Joseph. And then the boys come riding up, so it's obviously not Joseph on the other side of the wood. Yeah. He goes, what? Because he still doesn't really know what to expect from her. And then you hear from the knotholes from behind. Dale,
Careful, Joseph.
Careful, Joseph.
It was Dale spying on her. It's even weirder than Joseph looking at her. It's weird.
Yeah, because it's down on the ground.
Yeah,
too.
it's like
it's way up.
He's like eye level with her.
He's just staring at her through the knotholes. He goes, Joseph goes, I'm just here to play with Bobby. I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble to an adult. She goes, I could use a little help preparing the soil. Why don't you spread the mulch? He goes, well, what's it made out of? She goes, paddle. and goat manure.
Yeah.
And then
That's
they
a good
spread the stuff, and that is the end. It's kind of a little heartwarming.
It's a good one.
I mean, it's tied up really quick.
I had a quick bit of trivia to go ahead
But
and
it's
end it up
good.
with.
Yeah, go.
So, bejesus, I looked up the word origin of the word bejesus for
Yeah.
everybody. So it's actually an Anglo-Irish, so it's an Irish term. And it became bejesus because they would say "by Jesus" as an exclamation, and it became bejesus over time. And there's actually a it was written in 1881, this little deal I'm about to read, but it was called a prize essay on Irishmen. And it said, Irishmen is a great people. They says, be dad, be Gora, be Japers, be Jesus, be the holy poker, and be me soul, which all means by dad or by God, by Jesus, by the holy poker, which for those of you that don't know what the holy poker is, it denotes the instrument of punishment in Catholicism used in purgatory. And then
Took the words right out of my mouth.
be me soul means by my soul. So they had a lot of those kind of words they used for exclamations in Ireland. And it was bejesus.
We go
became
straight
one.
to the credits after this. And by the way, for anyone who's interested, there is a bell and a yell.
There is in the credits. There was a bell and a yell in the credits.
And
It was a good episode, though. I love this one.
It is a good one. We get to the end of it, and we hear Dooley, "Tu eres muerto." And that's it. That's it. We
That's
have reached
it.
the end of season 3, episode
11.
To Spank with Love.
To Spank with Love.
Very good stuff.
That's a good episode. Yeah, that was it. That's
All
where we're at.
right. Rusty, you want to tell them where to find us?
Yeah, you can find us at our link tree at www.linktr.ee/BWAKOTH.
And by
it's
the
our
way,
link tree.
just for everybody out there, if you care about the environment at all, you'll plant a link tree as well.
Yeah, plant a link
And
tree.
It just goes on, and we all help the cows. That's
And also,
Can I
we're
hear that?
almost to. I just want to add this real fast. We're almost to 700 views total on our YouTube,
Great.
and we have season 1 up to the Hank Trill
Artie's
interview.
been busy.
So yeah, Artie's been busy watching it. Yeah. So yeah, appreciate everybody driving traffic to that.
What were you gonna say, Mason?
Oh, it's shout out to all teachers. You're underpaid.
You are
work too
underpaid.
hard.
Yeah.
But
Shout out
thank
to all
you
the
anyway.
teachers.
Underappreciated.
Underpaid,
Yep.
underappreciated, and in the wrong state for educators. If you're
I
in
think
Texas.
I think just education's in the wrong state in general. But,
Potentially,
yeah.
I think it's potentially, but
think it's just
there's states that you hear good things from.
I think we just stop. Let's just stop educating these kids, right? Just let them go nuts.
Well,
Feral kids.
Well, it's
is
kinda
I'm-
what they're
I'm
doing
I mean,
next
they're already
door.
not paying attention.
it's kind of
Well,
what
that's what I'm saying.
it's kind of like what
It's
Triple
feral.
Win Waco's doing, teaching kids
Yeah.
marketable skills, like things
Sure.
that they can go out and make money with, like
Yeah.
the welding and the art stuff,
Yeah.
and teach them how to do photography and stuff like that. There's not enough of teaching kids that there's other things that they could do besides go to college. There's so many other ways to make money.
When I was a kid, there was a guy here in town, and you may remember his name, Charlie Pack. Remember Charlie Pack?
I know where Charlie Pack lives. I
Does
could
he?
take you
Is
to
he
his
still
house.
alive?
He's still alive. He lives
Oh,
in Belmead.
wow.
He's lived in Belmead right there for like.
That's
at
not
least my
creepy
whole
at all,
life.
Rusty.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Charlie Pack.
It's not the same Charlie Pack.
Oh no!
No.
You're talking about
He used to have a saying,
Off the creeks,
off the creeks,
on the
no,
streets.
off the streets, on the creeks.
I'm thinking of the highway patrolman. What was his name? He was always the real. There was a guy that was always. He was the news guy.
You're talking about the guy who was on the news all the time.
He was
as the highway
always on the
patrolman
news
guy.
as the highway patrolman guy for this
I know
area.
who you're talking about. Yeah.
That's a different.
He's
okay,
been on one of our shows before.
Oh, he has?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, off the streets and on the creeks, or whatever he said. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it made more sense at the time. But anyway, kids, listen to your teachers. Teachers, you're underpaid.
Don't pants teachers.
Don't
please.
pants teachers, please. Don't pants anybody,
Don't
really.
pants
right?
anybody.
I mean, that sucks. Pantsing people sucks because you never know what's under there.
Yeah, you just don't pants people.
You're gonna deserve whatever happens after that.
That's exactly right. Hey, I want to thank everybody for listening. Thanks for being here. Mason, thank you for producing as always. Rusty, thank you for being here for this very enjoyable episode.
Yeah, I liked it. It was a good one.
And we will see you guys next time.
Boah. No, sorry, Women Tanya.
Women time.
Yeah, Women Tanya.
Got it.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.